without thinking of the consequences. Get wisdom. Plan it. Work at it. Make sure you put effort into it. And then don't forget about it, and nor forsake it, because it is so valuable. So valuable. The last part of that, verse 6 says, love her, speaking of wisdom, and she will keep you. It's almost like a relationship. You love it like you love a wife, and it will take care of you. This back and forth thing about wisdom. The passion, the devotion that we're to give to our wisdom to make sure that we're using it the right way. More wisdom. Living it right. Striving to do that. Our goal in having wisdom is to accomplish what God would have us to do in a right way. In living right and in serving God and other people. Well, back to the computer. Definitions on wisdom. As we're talking about all of this. Some of the things it says involves understanding of people. It has the idea of understanding what is right in the course of actions. And then it says it requires control of one's emotional reactions. So that the universal principles and the values and the reasoning and the knowledge will prevail to help determine one's actions. It's almost like I'm hearing my grandfather once again when I do something dumb. And he says, "You're smarter than that. Let your wisdom help you to make a decision. Not your foolishness, not your passion, not your desires. Get wisdom. Don't forget it. Don't forsake it. Love it with a passion. And it will take care of you. It will take you to where God wants you to be. And in all that He's writing about, that's the value of it. Now, as you look at this study of the book of Proverbs and all of this, we understand how important it is. Proverbs is a book that's important because it addresses wisdom, and then it gives you God's advice on that, not man's. God's suggestions, His directions, His guidance in that whole process. Wisdom is needed to live righteously in this society. To not forget who we are. To not forsake the paths that we walk in. Wisdom is desperately needed. To deal with Satan's schemes, as Paul writes in Ephesians 6, that these schemes work against us constantly. To choose rightly, to live upright. Book of Job, described as a book of wisdom, tells us something about how to suffer. The book of Psalms tells us how to worship God. The book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes tells us how to live right. And then the book of Song of Solomon, how to love properly. God doesn't leave us without instruction and advice. He's looking everywhere along the way. You know what's amazing here is what's mentioned about this. Back to Proverbs chapter 20. Chapter 1, rather, verse 20. Wisdom calls aloud outside. She raises her voice in the open squares. If we're lacking wisdom, it's not God's fault. He's just putting it out there. It's calling aloud. It's out there in the open squares. Why does our nation do what it does? It's disregarding God.
Amen.
It's made so many choices against Him. It's ripped His commandments out of the courthouses as if there's no direction there. It's told children that you can't pray anymore. And educated us that all of these things that our society is doing is okay. It is fine. It is good. And they've forsaken God. Wisdom calls aloud in the outside. Verse 21, she cries out in the chief concourses at the openings of the gates of the city. She speaks her words. How long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? Just really, you should just go along, not have to do anything, not have to go against the currents. I'm reminded of something I read some time ago in a book. It says even dead fish can float downstream. We've got a current to wait against. And Satan's world is battling against us as Christians. And it's going to take wisdom to handle it. To do it in a great way. In a way that God would be proud of us as His people. I want to encourage you to be studying through the book of Proverbs as we go through this. And the different suggestions and teachings that we get along the way that come with having the wisdom over various different things. Some years ago when I was headed to Argentina, I was a younger man back then. I thought, boy, it's going to take wisdom to handle this. I'm going to be wise. So people come to me and ask me for suggestions. And so I thought, where else to go but the book of Proverbs? I was so disappointed. Because the first thing it said was, he that wants to be wise needs to listen. I thought, okay, Lord, you're telling me that I'm a bit young to be thinking about giving all this sage advice. I'm going to be wise. I'm going to listen to what He says. We all work on that, don't we? No matter how old we are. Listen to God. Keep His commandments. Ecclesiastes says it's the whole duty of man. Now, as we wrap this lesson up, and you look at your life, ask, have you been acting foolishly? Been wrapped up in sin? Devoted in other things that pertain nothing to righteousness? Then get your life right. Get straight with God. If you just kind of been drifting along, pick this book back up again and study it. And take it in and love the words of God. And meditate on it and let it influence you and change you and make you what God wants you to be. And if you've never been baptized in Christ, I can tell you right off, that's the reason Jesus died on the cross. To change humanity and to give them a chance to come to God. And we have a baptistry ready. Garments to change into. Everything's ready if you're ready to become a Christian. That is a wise decision. And we will hang in here and wait with you and do that so gladly. Make a decision right, wherever you're at, to stand strong with God. If you need to come forward, do that while we stand and sing.